Thank you, Ganti. All right, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Product Listing Success. And let's get started. I'm super excited to see you all here. Now, just some housekeeping things before I forget. Um, I am going to mute everybody, and as much as possible, please stay muted until our Q&A portion, because that just helps with the recording. It keeps the audio to be at its cleanest, because when we have people unmuting themselves, and then sometimes there's all kinds of noises and over talking, and then the audio gets all messed up. So let's keep the recording as clean and as good as possible. So that means staying muted until the Q&A session. But I know that, questions can pop into your head anytime and you don't want to forget them. And I do want to address them. So anytime that a question comes into your mind, type it in the chat and I will scroll through the chat when we get to the question and answer session and make sure that we don't miss your question. So, okay. And anytime there is a problem, like if you can't see my screen, if I'm sharing and you can't see my screen, or there's a problem with what I'm sharing, that actually would be a time to unmute to let me know, because while I'm sharing my screen, I cannot see the chat unless Zoom has changed. But I know that's the case. So if there is any like technical problem while I'm sharing my screen, then you can unmute to let me know. All right, you guys ready? Say yes in the chat if you're ready to get started, and we shall get started. Yes, yes, I'm ready too. I'm so excited for this class that I have to admit I did not sleep as early as I should have. I woke up super early too. Oh, hang on. Just give me a few seconds to take care of my technology here. And you should be seeing my screen. Can you guys see my screen? I can see some of you, so you can do like a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Can you see the slides? Yes, thank you. All right, so if you signed up for Product Listing Success, then you're in the right place. This is our live class. Again, welcome. So I asked some of you, or the person who referred you to this class may have asked you, what do you find most challenging about writing your listings for your Etsy store? And some of you said, well, I don't know what to say, right? What do I put in the description? And because you're second guessing, and then it's natural that it would take you a ridiculous amount of time to create your listings. And then there's the SEO to think about. And that can get kind of sticky, because you're thinking, okay, I'm writing for SEO, but now my copy or my description sounds really weird. It doesn't sound natural. It doesn't sound like I'm talking to humans. So you want to get this balance between writing for the search engines and writing for people. Of course, that's natural. And then some of you said, you're wondering, how do you make your description compelling so that the person who's reading it wants to buy your product and will actually buy it? And that is exactly the point of copywriting. That's what copywriting is all about. It's the use of words in order to sell. And then some of you also said that, oh, I find that I just keep repeating the same things over and over again. And if you can relate with that, let me just assure you that that is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if your Etsy store has, one theme, or you're appealing to one type of customer for all your products. Then it's very natural for you to be saying or to feel like you're saying the same thing over and over again. And that just means that you have a coherent message, one unified message that you're putting out there, even though you may have different products. But if that's not the case, what you will learn today, you are going to figure out how you can change things up a bit, or maybe things that you can be mentioning in your copy so that it's not so repetitive. But I just want to reassure you, if you feel like you're being so repetitive, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. So if you're experiencing all of those things, and by the way, if there's anything else that you're finding challenging, go ahead and type that in the comments or in the chat. And if you can relate with any of those things that I mentioned, I can help with that. That's why I created this class and invited you, and asked people that I know to invite you to the class as well. So, who am I? As I mentioned, some of you discovered me through Lynette, through Becky, or through other people. And so we may not have met before. So let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm Lexi Rodrigo, and I have been writing copy, writing for the web since 2008. And I can't believe it's been that long. Anyway, I do have a day job. I am a content manager by day, and I am passionate about helping businesses succeed, businesses like yours, big and small, and everything in between. Like currently, I am working with a multi-million dollar business, and I have worked with 6, 7, 8 figure organizations and businesses. But I also really, there's still a spot in my heart for small businesses, micro businesses, like mine is actually, because it's just so empowering, to have your own business and to be able to create your own opportunities and be in control of your income. That is so empowering, and that's why I keep giving these classes, because I want to support small businesses, small business owners like you. And I am a lifelong learner, which you can probably see from the books, all the books behind me, and these are just two of my bookcases. There's more around my house, and of course, there's the Kindle too. And I love to share what I learn and what I know. When I was a little girl, one of my dream job was to become a teacher. So I had two ambitions: to become a mom and to become a teacher. I am a mom of three, and well, I never became a classroom teacher, although I had my own little chalkboard and chalk, and I used to wear my mom's high heels and pretend that I was the teacher. But I'm not in a regular classroom, but thanks to the internet, I get to be a teacher here with you today. So thank you for that. And what have I got for you today? I want to share with you a simple copywriting framework that you can use for all kinds of copy, and that includes your product listings. Just the other day, I wrote for the very first time an app description. So this is a product listing too, but it's a different kind of product. It's an application, a software application, and the product listing is in Google Play and the App Store, the Apple App Store. And at first, my mind was kind of muddled. And then I had to remind myself that, Lexi, you have this framework, use the framework. So I did. And when I did, it was so much simpler. And the product listing that I made was a lot better. So it's the same thing. Whatever you learn today, you're going to be able to apply it to your emails, to your social media posts. Even if you're making an opt-in page or your own sales pages, you're going to be able to apply this. So then specifically, we are going to look at how do we apply this framework to an Etsy product listing so that as you're completing a listing, you know, like where the framework, how to map it onto a product listing. And then we're also going to talk about images. So this is one of those things I wasn't really going to cover, but you know, with the web, it's such a visual medium. So what I'm um, learning more and more is that copywriting on the web, it just can't be about words anymore. We also have to learn how to optimize our images. And so that's what we're also going to be talking about today. And then, of course, SEO. Again, I wasn't going to talk about this because I actually don't sell on Etsy. I don't know how the Etsy search engine works. But then I found out that Etsy listings actually can rank on Google, and I know how to rank on Google. So I'm going to share that with you. And I think what you do to rank on Google is also going to help your Etsy rankings. And by the way, when you write better product listings and they start converting better, that helps with your Etsy listings too. Or that's part of how you optimize for Etsy search engine. So everything is interconnected and everything is related. That's awesome. And finally, I am going to suggest a writing process and structure. And it's just a suggestion because, you know, there's no one right process for writing, right? I'm going to make a suggestion just for you to try if what you've been doing hasn't been working as well as you would like it to, then try something different. This just might work for you. It's not an absolute must in order to write good copy, of course. But you know, if you're so frustrated that you want to try something new, this is something that you can consider. And as I mentioned on the sales page, this is really a unique class because we're not just talking about copywriting, which originally this class was just supposed to be about copywriting, but we're also going to cover images, super important now for the web, and SEO, another critical thing when you're creating anything on the web. Because if people cannot discover your product listing, your landing page, your blog post, your website, then you don't have an online business. So with these three things, we have today's class, which is product listing success. So let's get started. First thing, as I mentioned, is copywriting, and this is going to be the longest section or the longest lesson in the class. And so, what is this copywriting framework that I promised you I was going to share with you? It's called the AIDA framework or AIDA. I'm from the Philippines, so I say AIDA. And AIDA is an acronym and it stands for the first is attention. And by the way, this framework first came about in the 1800s, um, and it's been used by advertisers and salespeople, people who sell face to face. But it's very adaptable to any sales situation, including online. So first, you know, you cannot make a sale unless you get the person's attention, right? And and this is so important on the web because nowadays everyone is so distracted. Everyone is so hyper stimulated. We have so many things coming at us all at once. So all the more this is all the more important and it's all the more challenging. But later on, we're going to look at how we can get someone's attention. And then the next step is interest. And so you have the person's attention, but they could easily click away right? So you have to get them interested so that they will continue to listen to you or watch you or read what you have for them. And you may get them interested, but the next step is to actually get them to desire, to want what it is you're offering, right? Because interest is just interest. For example, we watch a lot of YouTube videos because we're interested, but that doesn't necessarily lead to a sale, right? And that's because those videos, they were just entertaining. They did not create that desire inside of us to actually own that product or service. And finally, when the desire is great enough, then the final step is the action. So the sale, like ultimately it's the sale, but there are also other types of actions that we want people to take. For example, depending on where they are, where they're at. Maybe the action is simply to click something, or to comment, or to share. But since we're talking about Etsy stores, we know that ultimately the action that we want is to sell something or for the other person to buy your stuff. Now, there's two ways that you can think about the AIDA framework. You can think of it as, um, the steps, like what we have here, the steps for your prospect to go through, right? From, just going about their everyday lives to actually giving you money and buying your stuff. So those are the four steps. But you can also think of it as your goals, right? As you're creating copy, as you're creating your product description, think of AIDA. Think of these for each part of your product listing has a specific goal, and these are the goals. So that will help you focus depending on what you're working on, to remind yourself, oh, at this point, I'm trying to get their attention. So then it becomes a lot less overwhelming, right? Because you know that at this point, I'm not actually trying to sell yet. I'm just trying to get the person's attention. So you become much more focused. It's less overwhelming. You don't second guess yourself. You know exactly what you're trying to do. And it, it just goes much easier, and we will get into the details later on. So, um, just want to make sure I didn't skip anything. Let's go step by step, right? So the first step is attention, and that's your first goal, is to get the person's attention. Now, when we about when we say attention, we are talking about something instantaneous. It's an unconscious reaction. It's what you do to make someone look like, oh, I made you look. So, one way to think about this is if we were in a big dinner party, right? And let's say that, Becky, I wanted to get your attention. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of noise, and I wanted to get your attention, Becky. There's several ways that I could do that, right? I, if I, let's say I'm across the room, I could shout, Becky, hey, Becky, and that would get your attention. So hearing your name gets your attention. I could also, walk up to you and tap you on the shoulder, right? That would get your attention. Or I could jump up and down, you know, and that would get your attention. Another thing, and it applies, for example, in Zoom, the reason why I'm wearing this bright colored blouse is because when you're looking at your Zoom screen and there's a sea of people's faces, I want to get your attention because your attention should be with me, and that's why I'm wearing this kind of bright colored shirt. So if you notice, attention is very much tied with sensory stimuli. Okay, what gets our attention, our unconscious reaction of making us look, is tied to our senses. So it's all about what we see, right? What we hear, even what we smell. Yeah, that's supposed to be a nose. What we taste, and what we feel with our skin. Okay. So think about that when you're creating your product listing, but also actually any kind of content on the web. For example, um, did you know that Facebook ads with animated images convert better than Facebook ads with static images? And the animation doesn't even have to be fancy. We tested Facebook ads where it was just animated text, like the same headline, but with each word just appearing, and that converted better than a static image with the same words but not moving. So again, because what we see, that gets our attention, right? So think about these things. Of course, on the internet, we can't exactly provide stimuli in terms of smell and taste or touch, but definitely in terms of visuals and audio, we can. So what else gets our attention is novelty, something new. So when you have this pattern, repetitiveness, and then suddenly there's something different or new that pops up, that gets your attention, right? So, something to keep in mind. And now let's go to interest. If attention is instantaneous and it's automatic, interest is, I like to call it sustained attention. Okay. And so you got someone to look. I made you look. Now I want you to lean in. So in the dinner party, I called you, Mary, I called you. I don't want you to, you look at me, but I want you to now lean in and actually keep listening to me or get into a conversation with me. So, how do we do this? How do we sustain people's attention? First of all, this is very much goal driven. Whether or not Mary or Barbara or Paul will actually lean in and get into a conversation with me depends on, you know, what they want to achieve right at that moment. And when we talk about goals, we can think of it in terms of, is it a goal for you to avoid something that you don't want? So in other words, you're moving away from something undesirable, or is your goal to get closer to something that you do want? So let's say that um, who else is here? Sheila. Let's say again the same dinner party example. Let's say Sheila has been kind of stuck with someone who's boring, and then I call her, and so she's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, I want to get away from this boring or obnoxious person. So I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna lean in and talk to Lexi because Lexi's not boring. Lexi's not obnoxious." Or let's say, you know, Sheila's just been speaking with someone who's okay, right? But then let's say that Sheila and I are best friends, right? So she really enjoys being with me and speaking with me. So then when I call her, she's gonna lean in and enter into a conversation with me because I'm her best friend, and she knows that she's gonna have a good conversation if she starts speaking with me. So do you see the difference? And that's something that um, you have to figure out with your own products and your buyers. What is driving your buyers? Is it the desire to avoid something that they don't want, meaning they want to solve a problem? Or is it to achieve something that is desirable? And it can be like an experience. You know what? So there are products that don't necessarily solve problems. They're just nice to have, you know? So think about your products and your buyers in that way, because that's going to help you make your copywriting decisions later on. Okay, let's keep going. Other things that hold our interest are if they're relevant. Let's say, okay, it's close to lunchtime and I'm really, really craving pizza. And then let's say Lynette comes to my house with a box of pizza. So I'm really going to be interested in Lynette now, right? And another common thing is, you know, how we're subscribed to so many email newsletters. And most of the time, we just probably ignore them, right? You see the sender's name and the subject matter, and then you delete the email. But let's say I've been worrying about, you know, let's say maybe I've been wondering about I want to start an affiliate program, let's say, and I have no idea where to even begin or what kind of software to use. And then let's say I get an email today and I got an email yesterday from Cindy talking about her affiliate marketing course. So even though previously I've been just deleting Cindy's emails, today I'm actually going to open it and read it because it's just so relevant. It's exactly what I've been thinking about. Okay. So that's another way that we can get people interested. And then another thing too that really gets us interested is when something is disruptive, and that means something is unexpected, it's different, it's surprising, and it's related to the novelty um, that we discussed earlier. And this is I didn't know how to draw Jack in the Box, but something like this, you know, when something springs up unexpectedly out of nowhere, then that might get you interested. And then finally is if something is mysterious, there's a kind of mystery, there's suspense, curiosity, and this is they leverage this a lot in TV series. I i like watching TV series, and there's some that are so good because they end on a cliffhanger. They end an episode on a cliffhanger, so then you're going to want to watch the next episode, and this is what leads us into binge watching. Okay, so now how do you make when someone's already interested, how do you then arouse a desire for your product? And this desire is very much aspirational. There's a lot of hope. You know, people feel a lot of hope when they want your product. And what do I mean by that? There's just, you know, this idea of a promise, right? And again, it's they're hoping to either get away from something they don't want or get closer to something that they do want. And because of that, so that's there's an anticipation of a reward. If there's if you don't have that anticipated reward, they will not want something. Okay. And aside from the anticipation, they have to believe. By the way, that's supposed to be a UFO in case you can't, in case you couldn't tell. Um, so they anticipate the reward and they have to believe that they will actually get that reward. Okay? If you're making claims that your product is going to do this or that for them, but you haven't actually convinced them that your product will work, then they're not going to want it. And then it also has to be in line with their identity or validate their identity. For example, I identify very much as a mom who likes to DIY things. I like to make a lot of food from scratch. I grow some of our own food. I grow all of our leafy green vegetables, and that's how I identify. So going to, if your product is something like and this product exists. The food boxes where all the ingredients are already prepped for you, and you just have to like throw them all together in a pot and you'll have dinner. So that kind of a product, it doesn't align with my identity, so I'm not going to feel a desire for that product. But if you give me a product or offer me a product that validates my identity as someone who likes to make my family's food from scratch and make healthy meals and make sure that I know where everything's coming from. For example, instead of the box of pre-prepped ingredients, you send me a box of certified organic food, then that's more validating of who I am. Okay? So if you can do that in your copy, you're gonna create more desire for your product. All right. So then there's this desire, there's this that tension. I want it. I want what Barbara is selling. But what actually gets me to click on that buy button and take out my credit card? It's first of all being very clear on what you have to do. Now, I've ordered from Etsy. I know how to buy stuff there, but maybe someone is there for the first time and they're not really clear on how to order, or it also means like being clear of what to expect. For example, if you're selling a downloadable product and your buyer might not be familiar, or they might wonder like, how am I going to get this printable stuff, printable PDF? So then that's another thing that you want to consider adding to your copy, making sure that people know exactly what steps to take in order to buy your product and then what to expect after they buy your product. And then there's also what makes a person buy is actually when the value, the perceived value, by the way, it's all about perception, okay? So this is very much subjective, okay? You might think your product has a value of $1,000, but actually, to your prospective customers, they think, well, I think it's worth just $100. So it's very subjective. So when the perceived value of your product is higher than what you're actually charging. So I think, for example, I have a tower garden here. Let me show you quickly. Oh, can't see it as I'm sharing my screen. But most people think that the tower garden is expensive. But for me, the perceived value of our health and my husband not having to go to the grocery so often to buy um, green leafy vegetables, which I consume a lot of, the value is it's not even like you can't even put a dollar sign to it. It's just so valuable. So the actual cost is so small compared to what value I have for this product. So, and because of that, buying it was a no brainer. And then another thing also that can really drive the sale or finally get the person to buy is when they feel very safe in doing so, meaning they feel that they can trust you, you will deliver the product, you will ship it on time as quickly as you said you would. You're not going to disappear on them after you get their money. um, and so it's about, showing them that there's little or no risk to buying your product. And this is why we offer money back guarantees, things like that. And this is why it's much easier to sell your product when you already have a lot of glowing positive reviews on Etsy, and also a good reason for you to keep asking for those, by the way. And I think it's also why a lot of you, enrolled in this class, even though you don't know me from Eve, is that, getting the recommendation from Lynette or Becky or someone else that you do know it made you feel a lot safer enrolling in this class with me. So, reviews help. Um, what else did I say? Referrals and recommendations. All of those things can help you to get the sale. So another thing is scarcity. Now, when you go to Etsy or in your Etsy product listing, if you're selling a physical product, you can tell Etsy how many are actually available. And then if you have just like a few left, Etsy will pop up a message there saying, oh, there's only one left or there's only two left. And I can't remember where it is that I was shopping, but it actually even says like, there's only two of these left and one is in somebody's shopping cart. So then that really makes me feel like, oh my gosh, I might not, I might miss out. And there's that, you know, that fear of missing out. FOMO is a very strong driver for action. It really gets people to buy, right? And then it's related to FOMO. I mean, it's related to scarcity, but another way of another way of getting people to fear missing out. I don't know, it sounds kind of manipulative, but it's through urgency. So urgency is more about time, right? Like time's running out. You have to do this now because. So if you notice for this class, I had an introductory price that's only good until yesterday. Um, and so if you don't enroll soon, you're gonna have to pay $10 more, which is, it's not a lot, but it's not nothing, right? Like I can think of a lot of ways that I could spend $10. So, and I'm the kind of person like I want to save any way that I can. So why spend $10 more if I can save it just by making a decision and enrolling now? And especially online, you want people to buy right away because, again, as I mentioned, there's so many distractions and they can easily just forget about ordering from you. And then before you know it, they've purchased somewhere else. So, anytime that you can introduce scarcity, if you have a physical product, then of course there's a natural kind of scarcity because physical products are finite. But if you have um, a digital product, then you're going to have to be a little bit more creative. Like you can't say there's only X copies of my PDF left, right? That's just not that's just dishonest and that's silly. But you can use urgency. For example, by having, for example, a sale, a special discount, special offers, things like that. All right, so now some exciting part. We're getting to the exciting part of actually looking at, okay, we have this framework. How do we now apply it to Etsy? And just to remind you, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat and I will get to them later on. Okay, so here's an Etsy listing. When I typed in vintage Pyrex bowls, and I did not um, include in this image the, oh wait, did I? Oh, I did. So annoyingly, the first things that are listed here are paid. These are ads. But so just looking at this results page on Etsy, what catches your attention? What gets your attention? So I'm going to guess that it's the pictures, right? It's the images. So I am not even going to look at or read any of the product titles until I've looked at the pictures. So I'm going to look at the pictures, and if something looks interesting, that's the only time that I will click on it to actually see the product listing. And this is why I decided to touch on images, because Etsy is very much a visual oriented platform. So when we talk about attention, it's not your words, it's not the title of your product listing that's going to get attention, it's not the description, it's the pictures, it's the images of your product. Right. So let's say your picture is, oh, let's look at another results page. So here, again, it's the image, right, that catches your attention. I'm just going to say 80 for attention. And I don't know, but this catches my image, my attention for some reason. This does not. Like, I just kind of gloss over it. And then this one a little bit, right? Okay. And let's look at another results page for a product, a physical product. So this page, and again, it's just the visuals. The title of the product listing is so small that how can it even catch your attention? So here, what catches my attention are actually this mug and this mug. And there's a reason for that, which we will go into later on. Okay. And it's really because of the color. Did you notice? In general, warm colors are very attention getting. And what are the warm colors? Red, yellow, orange. Those are the warm colors. So if you want to catch your images to be attention getting, use warm colors and bright, right? The pastels, neutral colors, they kind of just fade away in that sea of images. They don't jump out at you, right? So if now, what if your branding is pastel colors? Um, well, what I would say is try to find an accent color that still blends with your other branding colors, but is warm and a little brighter. Okay. And I just wanted to point out that Amazon's buy buttons are what color? Orange. So there's a reason for that. Um, what else? Contrast. Contrast is really attention getting. So take a look at, make a search on Etsy for the keywords that people probably use to discover your product, and look at the results page and look at who's right, like who are, what are the ranking products, and look at their images and make sure that your images will not blend in with those images. Make sure that your image contrasts. So this is actually where, like, maybe if your branding is pastel and everyone else is using bright colors, this is where maybe if you keep using pastel, your image will pop out, stand out. Maybe. Okay, you'll have to, like, play around and look at, like, maybe get a screenshot and look at your image, place your image in that screenshot and see, like, is your image popping up out of that page? Or if everyone else is using bright colors, or if everyone else is using warm colors, then maybe you can use a bright, cool color like turquoise, or a bright blue, or a bright violet, or fuchsia pink, which is actually still a warm color. But if everyone else is using red and yellow and orange, then maybe your image will stand out if you use something that's more on turquoise, but still bright. So think in terms of contrast within your image, okay? and also contrast in comparison to other images, the images of the products that are competing with yours. Okay. So this is how you can learn from your competitors. See what they're doing and don't do the same thing. Let me just drink a little bit of coffee. Another thing that's really attention getting in terms of images is pictures of people, human faces. And that's why I was attracted to that mug with the baby's face on it, because the other mugs didn't have human faces on them, but that one did. So, especially, smiling faces, happy faces, female faces attract attention from both males and females. Okay, we're more likely to look at females than males. And also, pictures of children are also very attention getting. So, where it's relevant to your product, or actually, even when it's not, I mean, you can find a way. Even with a digital product, when you're making your mock ups, um, use a mock-up image that has a child holding your printable item. Have your child hold your pd your printout of your digital product and take their picture. And that's going to be attention getting. And then pets are, yeah, they just get our attention. So try to work in picture of a pet, include a pet, your own pet, someone else's pet, stock photo of pets in your images, in your product images. And of course, the more natural that you can make it look, the better. Don't make it look silly. Or maybe make it look silly. Maybe that will get attention. Play around. And then if you notice, there were some product images that had text on them. Now that can be attention getting as well if the text is using color and contrast. And also, of course, the size of the text needs to be big, right? If you're going to put text on your image, then make sure that it is legible, right? Um, and of course, that it actually makes sense. It's relevant to what the person is looking for. So maybe put your keyword there, your main keyword. So if I saw, for example, if I was looking for vintage Pyrex bowls, and then if one of the images had, just the word vintage in it, I would probably click on that because the text is very much aligned with what I'm looking for. The relevance. Remember, remember what we said about relevance. Okay, now let's look more closely at the actual Etsy product listing. So you've gotten a person's attention and they clicked on the thumbnail. And so now we're going to a product listing. The first, what do they see? This is what they see, which is actually kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of things going on here, right? So again, what gets our attention is what? Again, the image, right? That gets the attention. And do you actually read this? Okay. That might get attention, sure. And now we're moving into the interest step. Okay. So I'm looking at the picture. I'm actually going to look at the pictures, look at more pictures. Okay. That's how you get the person interested. Guys, if you're not uploading the maximum number of images that you can on Etsy, then you're missing out. You're short selling yourself and your product. You need to upload all the images, as many images as you can, and then also the video. Okay. Because now your goal now at this stage is to get the person interested. And those are the things that's going to get them interested. Is if you have, remember when we said that anticipated reward, and part of that is, um, showing your product, and you want to put a lot of images there because you want the person to stay on the product listing page and not go check out some other products. you want you want them to, you want to sustain their attention, and the one way you do that is by having many images, as many images as you can, so that they're going to click through all the images, and because your images are all optimized, then you're going to keep them interested. So I didn't have enough space, but so there's a lot of things here, right? And maybe at this point, maybe, you know, this, seeing this much, you can probably, with the right images, create desire as well, and actually lead them to take action and buy. But the chances are small that they're going to do that. Most likely, they are going to need to know more, right? And this is the same screen, by the way, just scrolling down. Unfortunately, so you have all these things, the reviews that I hope you have. If you have positive reviews, those are all desire elements, right? But let's say the person isn't quite ready to buy yet. Unfortunately, Etsy gives more real estate to the reviews than to your product description. So now you really need to get the person interested enough so that they will take action and click on this learn more about this item. Okay. So I I don't have the exact number of characters that will show up here. I think it's about the first, now I counted, but now I can't remember. 300 characters. Okay. So remember that your goal for the first 250 characters or so of your product description is to get the reader interested enough to read the rest of your product description. So go back, review what we said about interest. How do you get a person interested? And that's what you put in your, in the first 250 characters. What did we say? When you, it's aligned with your readers' goals. So you have to kind of know what are the goals of your readers, right? And then when they click it, that's the only time that they see the rest of your product description. And this is very much all around getting them to desire your product. So that's your goal for the rest of your product description, is to increase that desire for your product, and then tell them to take action. Tell them what to do next. Tell them to order. All right. So this is just like the end of, I just wanted to show the full description of this product listing. And again, you have quite a lot of, there's quite a lot of things that you can write in your product description. So make the most of that. Why would you want to write a short product description? Write as much as you can put in there to get people interested, to get them really excited, to get them to want to own your product, and to get them to feel that, they can trust you, it's safe to order from you, and to get them to feel that they need to have this product right now. They need to order it, and order it right now. And here's another product listing for a digital product. And as you can see here, this person has a lot of other images. So now that's gonna get me interested, because when I see these thumbnails, I actually want to look, I want to see these images. But so pay attention to your primary image. Okay, your primary image is this one. It's the first image that shows up on the product listing, and it's also the image that shows up as a thumbnail in the search results of Etsy. So you want your primary image to be really attention getting. And then you want to upload as many images as you can. So this is the primary image is all about getting attention, and then the other images can it can achieve interest, they can achieve desire, and they can actually achieve the action as well, right? And don't forget the video, the video of your product. Even if your product is digital, you can still create a video. Just create a screen, a video of you going through your digital product, going through your PDF. Just talk about what is in this PDF, and there's your video, and upload that. Use all the tools that are available for you in Etsy's product listing. Okay. So again, we said that okay, this is, to be honest, I skip most of the titles because usually people stuff their titles with keywords, but you can absolutely use the title to generate interest, and this portion absolutely is for interest. Okay, you want them to be interested enough to click that learn more link so that they can read the rest of your description. And here, these are desire elements, right? The reviews are desire and action elements. And by the way, these four steps, attention, interest, desire, action, they can overlap. Like something that gets attention can also get a person interested. And, you know, something that generates interest can also generate desire. They're not completely distinct, they can overlap, but it's just really helpful for us to think of what am I trying to accomplish with each step as you're completing your product listing. Okay, and then here, as you can see, these are all facilitating action when they tell the person what to expect after they buy. Okay, um, here, see how it works. It's very reassuring to find out how something works. It's very reassuring to find for your buyer to know what's going to happen after they hit that order button, and that's why it gets them taking action, right? And then, by the way, I you can also have other calls to action in your Etsy listings. I know in copywriting we tend to say um, to have only one call to action, but in your Etsy store, it might make sense to actually have a secondary or other minor, less important calls to action. And that could be, for example, checking out your other listings, checking out related products. And if you notice, Amazon does this, right? When you're looking at a product listing and then Amazon tells you these are the related products, other people who uh, purchase this product also looked at these products. So those are minor calls to action. And you can put links in your product description. They will not be hyperlinked like this one, but you can still put the URL in your product listing. So definitely, like you can tell people, order this, or come check out my other products. I also have XYZ, and give the URLs. All right. So these things are all, well, maybe not the terms of use, but definitely if you have a return policy, you can add that because again, that facilitates the action when people feel safe about ordering from you. All right. So now when you're actually creating your listing, let's see how we can apply IDA, the IDA framework. The first step actually when you're adding a new listing is for you to upload your photos. So do that. And right now there's what? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine images that you can upload. And I'm telling you, upload as many as you can. And again, you know that your primary image, your goal is attention, but for your other images, your goal is to stimulate interest, desire, and even action. So you can think of it as, oh, some of my images are going to be focused on getting people interested, and some of my images are getting people to really want my product, and some of my images, maybe I'm going to tell, you can even maybe in one or so or image, you can say, you can add text that says order now, something like that. Okay, so and that's how you can use your images to achieve these other steps. And then after you upload your image, um, it's gonna ask you to upload a video. And as I said, please, 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 for every product listing that you have, add a video, because movement is another thing that gets people's attention. And your video, um, I didn't see like how long the video can be, but you know, even a 30-second video can do all of these things. Your video can move a person from attention, interest to desire, and actually taking action. So who knows, maybe after watching the video, they'll go ahead and order and not even read your description, which would be amazing, right? All right, so then moving through the rest of your listing details, this is actually where you can start using words. So the title, as I said, it's not really for attention. I think most of the time people use the title for SEO, which we will touch on later on. Um, but definitely, yeah, for interest. Now, these, if you're using in the title the words, exact words that people are typing in the search bar of Etsy, then that's definitely going to get them interested. Like if I search vintage Pyrex bowl and then the title is vintage Pyrex bowl, then definitely I'm going to be interested in that product listing because that's what I'm looking for. Remember what we talked about, relevance? So know what your buyers are looking for and just make your copy relevant, completely aligned with that. Okay, so you just fill in all these other things. Category, yeah, definitely use the category for, I think this is more for SEO more than anything else. So use that. And then, as I mentioned, the description. Now, calm down. You know, the description is this massive, massive field, right, that you have to fill out. Don't freak out. Remember, you have very clear steps for each part of your description. In the first 250 or so characters of your description, all your only goal is to get them interested. So go back, you know, review what we mentioned earlier about what causes people to become interested. That's your only goal at this point. Your goal at this point is not yet to get the sale. So you can relax. And then as you move throughout the rest of your description, you know that after you get them interested, you want to create that desire for your product. And then finally, so this creating desire is going to be, I would say, the majority of your product description. And then towards the ending, you ask for the sale, tell them what to do next and what they can expect. And as I said, this can be, you know, the primary one is to order and order now, right? And then you can have secondary calls to action, which is to check out your other products. And again, you can put the URL in the description. Um, so then, just go through the rest of the steps, and there you have it. That's you've implement or you've used the IDA framework to create your product listing. Okay, let me check the time. We have about 30 minutes left, and I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but there's just so many things I want to cover, and I want to cover them all. So let me just take a sip of coffee. And now we're going to move to SEO. Now, as I mentioned, SEO, really, really important, not not just to rank within Etsy itself, but also to rank with Google and the other search engines. And what you do, I think they're not, again, you can hit two birds with one stone. When we talk about SEO, when you optimize your product listings, it works for both. So let's talk about when we talk about SEO, there's two kinds of SEO. One is on page, meaning this is what you put on your actual product listing on Etsy, in Etsy, right? And then there's off page, which is other websites outside of Etsy. This is what you do outside Etsy. And you need to do ideally those two things in order to really optimize for SEO. So let's cover on page SEO. This is actually the easiest one. So do not skip this. And the very first thing is to know what is the keyword that you want to rank for. So a rule in SEO for websites is one keyword for one post. So for example, or one page, one piece of content. So I want you to think of um, to think in the same way with your product listing, meaning one target keyword per listing. Okay. And then how do you know what keyword to target? There are a bunch of keyword research tools out there. Unfortunately, I do not know of any free ones that I can recommend. There is the Google Keyword Planner, but you do have to have an advertising account with Google in order to use this for free. It's free, but you have to have an advertising account. And that means that you need to submit your credit card details with them. And if you don't, you're not exactly going to get exact information or data, which means it's not useful. But if you're willing to do that, then okay. Um, Now, since I work with companies that do have the budget for this, we use paid SEO tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush. Those are some of the tools that I have used and, oh, sorry, and have used or am using. Just erase that. Ahrefs. So these, I think, start at about $99 per month. So it might not be feasible for you right now. So look into, ask around if there are any free keyword research tools that people know about and can recommend. But the keyword research tool will really tell you what are people looking for, the exact words that they're looking for in the search engines so that you can, and how hard is it to rank for that. So you want to go for keywords that people are looking for and that also is easy to rank for, or not that hard to rank for. Because if you're going to be competing with Amazon, you're probably, or some other large websites, you may not win. Okay, so although each listing will only be targeting one keyword, um, you also want to identify related or secondary keywords because people might be searching for variations of that keyword, right? And you want to also include synonyms of your target keyword into in your product listing because that's just the way that we naturally also speak or write. Like when we're talking about a topic, we don't just say that exact word. We usually say things that are synonymous or that are related to the topic, right? So you want to be aware of the synonyms and related words to your primary keyword. Okay, so where do you use your target keyword? As we mentioned in the title, definitely it should put it right on. It should be the first few words of your title will be your primary keyword. And in the description, make sure it's in the first, not even the first paragraph, in the first sentence of your description, use your target keyword. Okay, and then sprinkle it all the throughout the description. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Throughout your description. Okay, sprinkle your primary keyword, but make sure to keep it sounding natural. You're not doing keyword stuffing. And then use the related keywords and the synonyms here and there, alternate it with your target keyword. And then tags, remember in your product listing, you do have the opportunity to add tags to your product listing. This is another time for you to use your keyword, your primary keyword, and your secondary keywords. And then in your primary image, what do I mean by your primary image? Um, do I cover that in the next one? No. The file name of your images should have your primary keyword. And then remember, you can upload several images. So some of the images can have your primary keyword, and then the other images can have your secondary keywords, right? So change the file names of your image and your video before you upload them to your product listing, right? And then your secondary keywords, if they if there's room for them and if it sounds natural, you can actually even use them in the title too. But definitely in the description, again, sprinkle your secondary keywords and alternate them with your primary keyword and just make sure to keep it natural. And then um, add your related keywords also in tags. And again, the file names of some of your images can have them. The file name of your video might have your secondary keyword as well. All right, so now let's talk about off-page SEO. And this is more difficult because it's off-page, meaning it's outside of your Etsy listing. So it's actually pretty hard to control, right? And the primary thing with off-page SEO, it's really all about backlinks. So meaning the websites that are linking. So if I have a website here, we want it to be linking to your SEO store or your specific product listing in SEO. We don't know, right? Like how do we get people like bloggers and so on to link to our product? Well, you can ask for the links for sure. And if you're a blogger, you probably get a lot of emails asking you to link to their blog posts from your own blog. But that takes a lot of effort, time, and energy to get links that way, backlinks that way. So you can actually create your own backlinks. So what do I mean by that? If you have your own website, If you don't have your own website, why don't you have your own website? Create your own website. And every time you should have a blog post, you know, every time you have a product, create a blog post for each product that you have on Etsy, where you just talk about the product and then, of course, you link to the Etsy product listing. And in that post, you're just talking about the product. What is it all about? It can be something very similar to the description that you have, or you can write the blog post first and follow the AIDA framework again. And then from that, you can shorten it down and use that as your product description. Isn't that amazing? And then there, you have one backlink to your product listing. What else? Your social media posts. Now, I don't know. I think social media posts are no follow. I don't know, but it seems to help. Sometimes this is all I do, and it seems to help with SEO. So every time you create a social post in for each again for each product that you have on Etsy, and do it on all the social media accounts that you have. You know, just the basic stuff: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Where else are you active? If you have a TikTok, sure, why not? Anywhere that you have a social media account, every time make a post for each product that you have. And then remember in Instagram, you can create like a page with all your links on your Instagram profile. You can send people to a page with all your relevant links through things like Linktree, services like that, or it can be a page on your own site too. Um, link to your product from that main link from that Linktree page that you have, right? And then create a YouTube video for each product that you have, and this can be um, the video that you upload on Etsy, depending on the maximum file size that you have on Etsy, or it can so your YouTube video about your product can be longer, and then you can edit a shorter version of that you can upload on your Etsy store. And then in the video description, and sometimes do this, make sure to link to your Etsy product listing from the video description, right? And just by doing this, you easily have one, how many is this? So let's say that's two. And depending on how many social you have, you can easily have 5 backlinks just like that without approaching other bloggers or other website owners. Okay? And that's SEO for you. And as I mentioned, with Etsy, the conversion, how well your product converts or your product listing converts is another factor for SEO within Etsy. So anything that you do to get more people to buy will help your SEO within Etsy. All right. So now I have to go really fast because I want to get to your questions. So just go really quickly into the writing process. And I will share with you the writing process that I do with myself and that I recommend with my copywriting coaching clients, because most of the time we get so overwhelmed and it feels so hard and we get stuck and we get writer's block, because most of the time what we're trying to do is we're trying to do two things at one time, at the same time. We're trying to figure out what to write and then how to write it, and we're trying to do that all at the same time, and this is very natural. So a way to make writing easier and more effective is to separate those into 2 steps. First, figure out what you want to say, and then you can go back later and figure out how you want to write it, or what is the best way to express what you want to say or to write. And so to do that, we can learn from the chefs. Now, one of my sisters is a trained chef, and she taught me this. It's called mise en place, and it just means everything in its place. So, professional chefs, before they cook, they don't just throw things willy nilly into the pot or pan. They first prepare every ingredient. They take each ingredient out and prepare it according to the requirements of the recipe, meaning they slice, dice, measure, okay, and they lay it out on the counter before they start to cook or to bake. And it's the same thing with your writing. But what are your ingredients? We already talked about some of them. Your keywords. The first thing actually is knowing your keywords. Okay? That's one your the first ingredient are your target keywords, your primary keyword and secondary keywords. And then your images and your video. I told you you're not going to be using words. You're going to be starting out with non-words with images and video. And why do we start with that? Because in the Etsy product listing, the first thing you have to do is upload these. So you got to prepare your images, right? So change the file names, making sure that they contain your keywords, and then assess each image and just make sure that it is attention getting. Because remember, especially your primary image, its goal is to catch attention. Okay. So that's your other ingredients, your images, your video, prepare them, and then make sure that you have now these. Now we're going into the interest, desire, and action ingredients, right? So, what is the big promise that you want to make through your product? And remember, we said, are your buyers trying to solve a problem or are they trying to um, experience, to get a delight, to have a delightful experience? Is what are they after? Okay. And this is where your worksheets come in. By the way, use the worksheets before you create your product listing, right? Go through the worksheets. That's going to help you to identify what things will keep your reader interested, what's going to create desire, and what's going to make them take action, right? And then go through, make a list of your product's features and benefits. And by the features, so we mean the attributes, right? If it's a physical product, like how big is it? What is the size? What is the weight? What's the color? What materials is it made of? And then don't stop at that. So what? Okay. So what if you use yarn made out of wool that shipped from some exotic country? Okay. Oh, maybe that means that it's not itchy. And don't try to get too deep, right? Maybe that means, oh, um, I use this material because it's really comfortable in your hands. Okay. If it's a digital product, like so what that it's a printable PDF. So that means you can print as many copies as you want and you don't have to pay extra. Or maybe aside from the printable PDF, you also offer a fillable PDF where they don't have to print it out. And so they should care. Why should they care? Is because, oh, you just copy the PDF and you type the answers straight into the PDF. So you save on ink and paper because you don't have to print it out. But if you want to print it out, it's also available as a printable PDF. Okay. And then this is also where, just list your price, your shipping, delivery, guarantees, etc. And then another very important ingredient is social proof. So again, getting reviews for your products. Um, and what else would be like maybe quotes from if someone didn't post the review but they emailed you and they said wonderful things about your product. you can ask them, can I quote you in my product listing and my website and my social media? And most of the time they say yes. So even if it's not, it doesn't appear in the Etsy reviews, you can quote that person in your product description. Okay, and then be sure that you know what your call to action is, right? What do you want them to do? Order step by step. Okay, do this first, and then so click order, and then check your email, and then download the file, for example, or click order and then check your email for the confirmation, and then wait for the email that gives you the shipment tracking, whatever, right? And as I mentioned, like you might want them to check out your other related products. And if you have another ingredient that you might want to prepare, is you might want to think about how can you add a sense of urgency, scarcity in your product listing. Okay. And once you have all of that, then you can assemble, you can cook your product listing and just go through the steps. And a tip actually is you might want to draft your product listing on Google Docs or Microsoft Word. Okay, because I've heard of people starting to create their product description and then maybe they didn't finish, they did something else, they weren't able to save, and then they lost everything. And it's hard to start over when you're copywriting. So create your draft outside of Etsy and lay it all out there first, and then you can copy and paste later on. And a tip for when you're drafting is to write in white heat, meaning just get it all out of your head. You have your ingredients, right? Just get it all out onto paper. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about spelling mistakes. Don't worry about typos. Don't worry about your writing style or your tone. Just get it all out of your head. And then take a break and go back later. This is a step that is very kind of hard for non-writers, I think, to do because it does take time. But really, you can't write better unless you spend more time revising. And you might want to do like several rounds of revision. For example, the first time that you go over your draft, you might want to look at it with an eye for conversion and looking at step by step. Does my image catch attention? Will this title catch attention? Is the first, do the first 250, 300 words of my description, uh, is it interesting? Does it make the person want to read more? And so on. And then the second could be, with an eye to, um, from the point of view of your reader, meaning, I mean, it's not separate from the first one, but more of, does this sound like my reader? Can my reader relate? Am I using my reader's language? Very important. Use your reader's language. Do not try to be clever or witty. No, no. What you want is to sound the way that your ideal customer sounds. So, for example, your customer wants to lose weight. Don't say that your product will help them release extra pounds because they're not going around thinking, I need to release extra pounds. No, they're going around saying, I need to lose this weight. So use those words. Use the words that they use. Do not try to be witty. Do not try to be clever or creative. Okay. And nowadays, it's so easy to find out what the words that your ideal customers are using. And then your last pass can be in terms of SEO. Like, have I used my target keyword in all the right places? Have I used it often enough and in a way that still sounds natural? Again, just a suggestion. So give yourself plenty of time, right, to go through and to complete this process of creating a product listing for your product. Give yourself time because, it's important. You created your Etsy store because you wanted to earn extra money. And so you want to give that the best that you can, right? And finally, when you're happy with your product listing, you think that you've hit all the bases, then you can go ahead and submit. And by the way, I added in the on your training page, I wonder if you've seen that, there is a checklist there that you can use like just as a final pass. Go through the checklist. It's only one page, it's less than a page long, it's like three-fourths of a page long, and just to make sure you covered all the bases. And then when you can check off all the items there, then you can go ahead, copy and paste to your Etsy store and submit. All right. Oh my goodness. So this is what we've done. This is what I promised. Have we done it? Okay. We've gone over the IDA framework, and I've shown you how you can apply that specifically to your product listing. We've covered how do you optimize your images so that more people will look at your product listing and actually buy. And I've also shared with you SEO tips and tricks to get your product listing on top of the search results in Etsy and on Google and other search engines. And I've shared with you like a structure and writing process that you can try if what you've been doing is not working as well as you want it to. So now it's your turn. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want to see um, what questions you've submitted in the chat. And this is also where, if you want to unmute, this is the time that you can unmute and just ask your question.
So this is recorded, right?
It is recording, yes.
Oh, good, because I'm going to review it because some of the stuff I have to go back and look.
Absolutely. And
Like
also
the
because
SEO, like the SEO was great. Like I really enjoyed seeing all that because I didn't think about that, especially the image links, putting the keywords in those links. Like I haven't been doing that,
yes,
I'll have to
use
go
your
back and
keyword
yeah.
in the image file names. I don't know if a lot of people do that, but go and do that. Layla said, I basically just described the product. Again, that's just the beginning. Yes, describe your product and also tell the reader why they should care, right? So what? Always ask yourself, so what? So what?
If I can just put something in there. This is
Go ahead.
Christina.
Go ahead,
Um,
Christina.
like you said with the image, put your keywords, do the same thing on your website. Put those keywords when you name your image, put those keywords in your image.
Absolutely. So when you change do you mean like the as text or the file name?
Like when you're making an image and you're saving it,
Yeah.
save it, say printable journal or
Yeah.
planner.
Yes.
Name that
right. The file name.
that name.
Exactly.
And if you name them and match them with your Etsy images, then you have your keywords.
Absolutely. And you only have to do that once.
Yes.
Because you're uploading the same image into your website.
Exactly.
Right? And then if you have WordPress, I'm only familiar with WordPress.
Me
when
too.
you upload, use all those other meta data. If you notice,
Correct.
when you upload an image in WordPress, you have an alt text, you have the image name, which is essentially the file name. So you've got that covered. Use the alt text, like type your target keyword in the alt text. You might even use, there's a description, use the keyword there as well. And then why not put a caption? Use a target keyword in the caption. Use all the tools that you have. Use your keywords in all those places. All right. I was just thinking the other day how an animated Pinterest pin made me click. I don't normally click through on Pinterest, said Lynette. Yes, movement catches our attention. If Lynette gave me pizza, I would be interested too. Lol. Yes. Pizza party, I wish. I never even considered how my image looks among the other listings. Yes, so that's another thing to consider. That's a good idea for educational printables. Bullet journal is registered trademark and can get the product owner into trouble if it is not from the trademark owner. Yeah, so that's why people use Bujo. Um, yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know how you can rank if you're targeting a branded name. So maybe look at the other listings that are similar to yours and see how they're using bullet journal. But I do know when I searched bullet journal, I think in the title it was Bujo. Lexi, do we have to use up all 10 image placements? Yes. Yes, why not? That's going to help you with your SEO. That's going to help you get people interested. And as I said, depending on how good your images are, maybe people won't even need to read the description just by looking at the images. They might go ahead and order. I think Bujo is also registered. Okay, so yeah, look for alternate keywords. So that's one of the things that can these SEO tools can help you with, is that they can help you identify related keywords or what other keywords those sites are ranking for. And that can give you an idea of alternate keywords that you can try to rank for. Okay, 15 seconds. I'm not sure. Oh, 15 seconds. Is that the maximum duration of a video on Etsy? So even with 15 seconds, you can do a lot. And I suggest that you look at commercials. If you have some free time that you want to kill, look at commercials on YouTube video, 15-second commercials, and get inspiration from them. Like how, especially the ones that actually make you feel like buying the product. How are they doing that? Okay. You can make different lifestyle images for sure. One mock-up image has a picture of a human being. Remember, human beings, pets. Okay, that's so interesting. I didn't think to put the keyword in the image itself. Yes, because that also gets people's attention. I'm looking for vintage Pyrex bowls. So make it easy for me. There's this picture of a bowl. I can see it's vintage, it's Pyrex. But if you just say vintage Pyrex in text, I can see the bowl and I can read. So then that's going to make me click. Also, you should say this product may help you lose weight or you could get in trouble. Okay, that was just my example. Like, yeah, I'm not into the weight loss thing, so I don't know. It's been an amazing training. Is this recorded? Yes, recorded. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this into shorter chunks because I realize it's probably kind of overwhelming. This has been great. I feel like it will help me avoid those keyword salad listings that I see sometimes. I'm glad to hear that, Sabrina. Thanks. I learned a lot. Thank you, Joseph. Good to know. Thank you for excellent training. This is fantastic. You did a terrific thing at the beginning by using our individual names to draw us in. Yes, because calling people by name gets their attention, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ganti. Thank you for being the first to log in. Thank you for reminding me to hit the record button. So any other questions? I really liked how you mapped the ADA to the listing. Thank you, Lynette. Yes, because, ADA is theory. And we have to make it practical. We have to make it actionable. So unfortunately, I do have a hard stop. I need to go. And I know you guys are busy. Thank you so much for spending the last hour and 42 minutes with me. I do appreciate that very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and attention. And if, questions come to mind at any time, please send me an email and I will make sure to respond through an email. And other people might have the same question too. Thank you so much, Lynette. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Barbara, Layla, Christina, Cheryl, Lauren, Marilyn, Ann, Lynette, Karen, Sabrina, Melody, Paul, Barbara, Sheila, Joseph. Becky, is that you? Mary, Ganti, and P Malt. Who's P Malt? But thank you. The recording will be on the training page. I will send you an email as soon as it's up. So have a good day, everyone. Take care. Bye.